Hey guys, welcome back to the Run It Back podcast. I am your host, and as always, alongside with me is Wes. How you doing today, Wes?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Sunday's best.
Sunday's best. Hey, let's go. General thoughts, right? The Portuguese Grand Prix at Portimao, just happened this morning. It was bound to happen, right? We got two pretty good races in the first two races in the calendar. This is the first race where it was kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. It was more of a strategic race, to be honest. But of course, Hamilton made it a lot more interesting. Alonso towards the end made it a lot more interesting. But yeah, what are your general thoughts?
Man, we just seen another display of why Lewis is the best of his generation, if not the best of all time.
Right, right. I mean,
Because I mean, no disrespect to Botas or should I say boat ass, as I've been calling him lately, and Max, but
yeah, he's on another
what
level.
Lewis did to both of them
Yeah,
is something that no other driver can really do.
yeah, yeah.
Senna, sure, but we weren't around for that.
Right.
Schumacher, sure,
Yeah,
but of course, we weren't old enough to understand.
yeah, absolutely.
So Lewis was really exemplary, uh, that exemplary of a killer instinct,
Yeah,
especially when things are not in his favor, especially given the events of Saturday and part of the race today.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, you brought it up, Wes. Let's get right into it. The qualifying was a pretty big story, right? FP3, Max led FP3, where FP1 and FP2 was led by Valtteri Bottas. And then when we started to get to qualifying, all of a sudden, right, the Mercedes came alive. They were topping the timesheets in Q1 and Q2, I believe. Q2 they set the fastest lap in the qualifying session. But yeah, so pretty much let me just read out the qualifying results. We have Valtteri, Hamilton, Verstappen, Sergio, Sainz, Ocon, Norris, Leclerc, Gasly, and Vettel. Those were the top 10. Um, and I don't know. For me, the guy that stood out the most was Valtteri Bottas. Coming from, yeah, he was just all of a sudden he showed up after his stunt in or his accident in Imola after not really being there in Bahrain. I I didn't think he was gonna out qualify Lewis. I thought this was gonna be Lewis's 100th pole position.
Yeah, I'm a little critical here. I would just like to say that it was a virtual tie
Yeah,
that happened to be in the favor of Valtteri Bottas. But sure. I mean, it is what it is.
right.
It still counts the same, and for Lewis to wait on his 100 pole till maybe next week, yeah, that's probably a small win
Yeah,
that Bottas was supposed to build on.
yeah,
But I think the biggest standout to me was Sebastian Vettel being P10,
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
because it goes to show that there's still signs of life there. But of course, that's still a long way from being the Sebastian Vettel that would battle Lewis constantly.
Yeah,
But then again, like I said with Bottas, that was that small win for Sebastian Vettel. Of course, when it comes to playing out on a Sunday, I can't really attest to that. But just for the sake of a Saturday, that was pretty good.
that was pretty good.
And
Yeah,
not to mention Ocon outqualified Alonso again.
I
So
was
damn.
I was about to say special shout out to Esteban Ocon, the pretty much one of the only two drivers that gets to represent the working class. He didn't really grow up with a lot of money, and so I feel like but aside from that, yeah, I'm really proud of Ocon, right? Out qualifying Alonso, and not only that, it looks like Alonso just wasn't in the pace, wasn't even in the right, um, pretty much pace as Ocon.
Yeah, I don't know. Granted, it's still very early in the season, and he's been out for quite a while, so I don't know how long it's going to take.
Mm,
But 21 rounds left to go, if I'm not mistaken, and that
yep,
comes up pretty fast.
comes up
That's
pretty
a warning
fast.
sign to not only Fernando Alonso but Daniel Ricciardo
I was about to
and
say,
Sebastian Vettel
yeah, I was
and
about,
Sebastian Vettel.
yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely, and I was about to ask you, Wes, who's your biggest disappointment for qualifying?
qualifying,
Yeah,
mm,
you
I'm
name
gonna go
one.
with
Yeah,
Fernando,
no, 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 Ricardo.
Ricardo.
For me,
Oh,
it's
for
Ricardo.
qualifying, ah man, I guess I'm gonna
P16.
have to go. I guess I'm gonna have to go with Yuki
Oh wow, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
because he doesn't have the green thing on the car. You would think that he would qualify better than Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, Joran, my brother for the listeners, he's been betting on Yuki Tsunoda to finally beat Pierre Gasly, and so um, when Yuki does beat Pierre Gasly, he's gonna win a ton of money because no one expects Yuki to beat him. But Yuki has pace. It's just that unfortunately, you know, he's a rookie, right? You have to give him time to get acquainted with the car. But yeah, I agree. I thought Yuki was gonna be up there. He was gonna pretty much rearrange the order that we were gonna have. Maybe not in the top three or top four, but maybe like fifth through 10th. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in that.
Yeah, but like I said, there's still time.
Yeah,
You know, the curve is a little bit different for someone like Yuki, right? Because he is yeah, like you said, he's a rookie. He's the youngest, one of the youngest guys on the grid, if not the youngest,
right.
and you know he's got a lot to learn. But of course, you know, unfortunately, we've placed so many high expectations on him,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so he kind of has to deliver.
Yeah, yeah, right. I mean, a lot of people don't really see Gasly taking that Red Bull seat when Sergio leaves. They're hoping that it's probably Yuki or back to Alex, right? So there's a lot of pressure on him, and so I know he'll bounce back, and we'll see. We'll see at the end of the season who has more points. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on, Wes, to the race results. You already mentioned it, Lewis Hamilton, right? My goodness, coming from second, right? But it looks like he just didn't have the pace as Bottas in qualifying. All of a sudden, he turns it on in the race, right? I mean, there's Lewis Hamilton is that guy that leaves no stone unturned, right? Or leaves no stone unturned. And so, yeah, I mean, other than that, you know, you said it, right? He had a little bit of a hiccup. Max Verstappen nearly overtook him in the race start, and then did overtake him in the restart. After the two Alfa Romeos, I don't know what they were doing, but anyway, yeah, and Bottas, right, from P1 to P3. Man, like, and I remember there was a part of the race where Toto Wolff got into the radio and
Pick
started
up the pace.
speaking up to Bottas, and so yeah, I mean, you could make of that what you will, but if this goes on, I don't think you you know they're really counting on Valtteri Bottas to finish at least ahead of Perez, right? Because this is championship points right here. So yeah, and yeah, I think for me the biggest surprise for the race was Ocon and Alonso, just the entire Alpine team. And yeah, they, like I said, Fernando Alonso found pace towards the end of the race. Ocon just was in a different league by himself, but he did get caught by Alonso. So, yeah, your thoughts, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, for the race itself, say the top three stayed the way they were.
Yeah,
So Hamilton or Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen, that actually would have helped Lewis and Mercedes still,
absolutely. Yeah,
right? And you know, to be fair, Bottas did meet your expectation of finishing ahead of Checo,
yeah, he did.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So It's just that Lewis had to create some kind of highlight reel to just wow everyone over,
Yeah.
uh, such as taking advantage of a mistake that Verstappen made on the final turn,
Yeah.
going down into the hill.
Right.
And then, of course, using the DRS for countless amounts of laps, it felt like Lewis was knocking on the door, and eventually he overtook Bottas in a way only Lewis could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
that,
And
that's just amazing, and it goes to show that sometimes it's not always about the car;
yeah.
it's the driver.
I mean, yeah.
And once, and the thing is, right? The thing about Lewis is that if he's playing catch up and you lose,
Right.
you're not getting that position back
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
because once you like, it's three things, man. Once you get overtaken, you hear my tires are gone, and you see him in front of you. That generally means his tires are just fine,
There's
and on your telemetry, you're maybe 3/10 behind. All of a sudden, you're 1.5 seconds behind.
right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's,
Absolutely.
it's just like wow. But to me, the biggest surprise I think is Lando
Yeah.
because he's knocking on the door.
He's knocking on the door. Right. I mean, he's right there next to Perez, and Perez.
He had to give the fucking position back, which sucks, but it is what it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, unfortunately, yes, he did have to give the position back. But I do agree. I think Lando Norris is definitely making a strong run for best of the rest this season. I don't think he's. I don't think anyone is really close. Excuse me. And then yeah, I thought the only guy that was going to be close to him was Daniel Ricciardo. But unfortunately, we have to. He's one of those drivers. We have to give him time to kind of reacquaint himself with a car. And so yeah, it's interesting, right? Because Hamilton passed Verstappen, um, like going down the inside into turn one, which was which was pretty ballsy, right? Max Verstappen is one of those drivers that really just defends the inside line. He'll make you go outside, if anything, and then Hamilton does the exactly opposite when he was attacking Bottas in a same car, in the very same car, in the very same tire strategy. So I agree with you, Wes. I think Lewis just pretty much showed who's the king, right? Who's the king in this sport that we love. But I think there are gonna be some tracks still in the season where Red Bull may be stronger. And because I think we've seen it, right? Bahrain was Red Bull's race to lose, and they did lose it. And Mercedes looked a little bit better in Imola, um, but Verstappen won it. And then this was the first time everything kind of went according to plan in terms of practice and qualifying. And so yeah, like I said, right, this wasn't like it wasn't like a banger. It wasn't like a classic, but nevertheless, we still got a championship in our hands.
Absolutely. It's kind of like in the production before the race, right? They kind of made it round three
Right,
for Lewis and Max, and this round obviously went to Lewis.
right.
So of course, with the race next week in Barcelona, where position really is important and overtaking is damn near impossible there. It's kind of like, okay, could this be that one round where whoever wins qualifying is going to win the race?
Yeah, yeah. It might be right unless the pole sitter, gets a really bad start. I mean, remember this is the first race that Verstappen ever won was was Barcelona. So we'll see. I'm more interested about Alonso versus Sainz for this. So yeah, but yeah,
For sure. Yeah, given that Spain will be represented quite well,
quite well.
and we'll also see how the others will compete, but also then again, these are different, same but different cars.
Right.
So of course the focus still is going to find its way to the front of the grid, and we'll see how the new look McLaren runs around too, right? Because
Yeah,
it's been killing it everywhere else. So
yeah.
why? Let's see if it's going to keep its you know form here in Catalunya.
As long as Lando is driving, I think that they will have a chance for that
Oh
SRS. So
boy.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, yeah, that's pretty much all the show that we have today, guys. Make sure you guys check us out at the No Decision podcast coming up, and yeah. Other than that, we'll see you guys later. And yeah, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week at Barcelona.
Keep it on the track.